Okay, Sam.
Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today I am talking with medium Jane Allyson, who has a tremendous story to tell us about her interactions with entities beyond our understanding. And I will let her share the details. We do have a little bit of an audio issue, so please be patient with a little bit of the lag, but hopefully we will still be able to communicate the story for you. And for now, all I need you to do is strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Jane. Thanks for coming on the show. I think the problem is my speaker, honestly. I think everything's working fine. It's just my
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
At any rate, so I'm going to start by asking you, how did you find out you were a medium? And then how did that take you to this tremendous experience?
Well, Sam, nobody starts out as a medium. I was a psychic kid. I used to guess the prices of food that my mother brought home. I thought it was like a game. And I didn't really relate to other kids very well. I was different than everybody else. It was rough. It wasn't an easy life. Kids had a sense that I was not like them, and so I didn't really have any friends. And I spent an awful lot of time alone. And I think when you spend time alone, you become very, very aware of fifth dimensional energies, which I did.
What is a fifth dimensional energy?
Spirits, angels, God.
Okay, so you're talking about things that kind of interact with people or have interacted with people historically, and we just don't have a really good comprehension for them.
Mostly because this is the third dimension. Most people can't see things like that, but I always had a sense of energy. I could always sense energy. And my perception of people was based on their energy, not anything else. So I think the way you get to be a medium, I started playing music very young. I started writing poetry, drawing pictures. I wasn't too good in school, but I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade to join a rock band.
That sounds fun.
Music and art and writing, all those things are inspirational experiences where you're kind of communicating with God, but you don't know it. And in my 20s, well, I was in a band first, then I was by myself, then I started another band. And suddenly I started writing songs about an alien abduction. Are you there?
Sorry, Jane. Sorry.
We got disconnected.
Yeah, we did. Go ahead.
I wrote a song about an alien abduction, and I ended up writing a song about having sex with a Martian. And I don't know why I wrote these songs. I didn't understand it. And then one morning I woke up and I heard myself talking, And I kept saying, I am from space, I am from space. And that turned into a song. And so one night I was in my apartment, and at 4 o'clock in the morning I woke up to see something exiting my head and going up into the ceiling. And I thought I was having a dream. And the second night, the same exact thing happened at 4 in the morning. Something exited my head and went up into the ceiling. And I thought, gee, maybe that's not a dream. And the third night, something was put into my head again. And I saw it exit and go into the ceiling and disappear. And after that, I started walking around New York City wishing I could go home, which I thought was really strange because my home was New York City. But I just kept on looking up at the sky at night. And then I started hearing a voice tell me to go to the rooftop of a building. And when I did, I had a UFO sighting.
What?
Yeah, it was so strange. And my guitar player, we would rehearse our band in his father's building. His dad owned a 6-story building on Bond Street. And one night, it was July 4th, 1979, we wanted to see a UFO, so we went to the roof of the building, and nothing happened. And then we started chanting. And then we saw 6 lights going up over the East River, and then they went inward towards the Empire State Building, and I started thinking, oh gosh, I wish you would come closer. And suddenly, this thing was over our heads. It was like an 8-story building, maybe 10-story building. And it was shaped like it was a diamond-shaped object, and it was giving off something that looked like smoke or dry ice. And it actually, Sam, it looked like the Star of Bethlehem. That's
Really?
exactly what it looked like. And we were terrified. We thought we were going to die. We thought it was going to land on the roof and knock us off. And so then I'm thinking, gee, I wish I had a rifle. If you don't, and I just had this thought, if we don't get out of here, I'm going to lose my mind. And you know what it did? It blinked out. It didn't fly away. It just disappeared in place. And then we all went downstairs. And I went to call the New York Times, the police department, and my guitarist said, don't do that. Wait, just think about what happened. That's all. And for some reason, we all started meditating. And I looked down this way, and out of my the center of my solar plexus, I saw it open up and water come out of me. And what it felt like was compassion for the entire human race. It was strange. And I thought to myself, why am I putting my hands on my guitar? Why don't I put my hands on people? And that night, I changed careers. I just stopped playing the music. I stopped the band because I realized what I was doing wasn't that satisfying, that it might be more rewarding to help people. And I started studying with a Lutheran minister in Connecticut. He was a He was 72. I would say he was a mystic because there's 3 layers of psychism: psychic, medium, and mystic. Mystic is like when you're always in the 5th dimension. You're never really here anymore. So he could do psychic surgery. He could see into your soul and see what's hurting you and what you need to heal yourself from past hurts. And I was so impressed with him that I just decided to keep studying with him and learn it myself.
So, so let's back up a little bit. So you saw this enormous kind of UFO,
Yeah.
and it reminded you, like explain to me kind of the feelings that you were feeling in that moment, kind of awestruck. Like, did it give you kind of a sense of smallness, or what was?
Goodness. This thing was so big. I felt, yeah, I did feel awestruck. I felt small and terrified. It was scary because we thought it was going to land on the roof and knock us off, but it didn't.
That is fascinating. And did you? So the UFO contact, was that the end of the contact? I mean, was there some interaction with it other than just seeing it?
That was the end with that one.
Oh,
Then,
there's more.
Another night, I was sleeping in the loft on Bond Street with my boyfriend. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I decided to go and sleep on the couch. And as soon as I laid down on the couch, I was paralyzed. I don't know if you've ever been paralyzed, but that's very frightening. It's like having a 500-pound slab of cement on top of your whole body. I couldn't move. I could barely open my eyes. I just thought it was, well, it was scary, terrifying, very scary. And I managed to get one eye open just a little, and I saw 3 little men at the foot of the couch. And they were like 3 or 4 feet high, and they were wearing uniforms. And the only thing you could see in the head was the face, because the uniform was tight-fitting and surrounded the head. And that was scary. He had like alligator skin. And one of them communicated to me telepathically. And he said, if we can do this to you, we can do this to your nuclear weapons. And then
To our nuclear weapons?
Yes. And he said, don't be so trusting of all aliens because they don't all follow the rules. I didn't know what the rules were, but that's what he said. And I have to tell you, I was pretty terrified because being totally paralyzed and your brain is still active and you can't talk, that's pretty scary. And then they put me to sleep. And from a state of being very, very frightened, I passed out. And I woke up in the morning really scared. And in those days, you don't talk about things like this. You never talk about a UFO sighting or a visitation or anything like that. And several days later, I got a phone call from a guy named Timothy Green Beckley, who was a UFO publisher. And that was really weird. He said, I'm returning your call. And I said, I didn't call you. He said, yes, you did. We didn't have cell phones then. We just had regular phones. And I said, I don't even know who you are. And he said, I'm a UFO publisher. And I thought, well, maybe I should meet with him and tell him what happened. So I did. And weeks later, he invited me. He was doing a TV show called Midday Live with Bill Boggs was the host. And he said, "Would you like to come with me to the show?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And when we got onto the stage, a lawyer who had sued the government under the Freedom of Information Act, and he managed to get a large number of documents which consisted of UFO sightings by the military, all branches of the military, the CIA, the FBI, Navy, Air Force, Army, everywhere, and like all over the world, not just here. And we were given these press kits. And months later, I read the press kit carefully, and I saw that most of the UFO sightings, a lot of them were over nuclear military installations, and when they were there, the equipment would become paralyzed. So that's what that alien told me in my room. So
Oh my
in terms
gosh.
of synchronicity, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, Jane, I've got good news. I have resolved the audio issue, so I'm going to hang up the phone.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Bye.
All right. So,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you very well.
Oh, you told me to turn it off. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you just fine.
This is wonderful. Merry
Okay.
Christmas.
Yay. Okay. So now I can hear my voice in your computer.
I can hear my voice in your computer. Yeah, so there were other experiences. I was asked to give a lecture in Pennsylvania at a UFO convention, and I did. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. So I get up in front of 500 people, and I'm just standing there, and I'm like, what am I going to talk about? And I said to the audience, I'm sure you're wondering what I'm going to talk about, and so am I. And then they all exhaled, and then I started talking. And after my lecture, I was approached by a guy who was the head of the volunteer department at a men's medium security prison. And he said, "Would you teach a spiritual healing group at my prison?" So now this was 1982. And I said, "Yeah, sure. Sure I will." So that was strange. So I did that for a year and a half. And this alien interference in my life has changed the course of my life several times. The interesting
Yes.
Go ahead.
So tell me about how the mediumship and this interaction with the aliens has kind of guided you toward this work of spiritual healing, both for you and for other people. You know, how does that tie together?
Well, if it wasn't for that very big UFO sighting in 1979, I don't think I would have ever gone into the world of healing. But I did. And eventually, when I became a medium when I was 33, and I could experience other people's bodies in my body. And I think also one time I channeled an alien, which was pretty scary because they don't breathe air. And when it was happening, I couldn't breathe. So I was hoping it wouldn't happen again. But another thing happened in the 90s. I was in my car going south on the thruway, and I saw a plane about to crash. And it looked like a 747 jumbo jet. And I was like, oh my goodness. And before it hit the ground, it banked a hard left and went straight towards me. And I'm thinking I'm going to be killed. And I stepped on the gas. And before it got to me, it just evaporated. It just disappeared. So I called the police. I told them what happened. And they thought I was drunk. And they said, go home, lady. Oh, I hear a dog now.
Sorry.
That's okay. I love dogs. I go home, and I never ever joined any of those UFO groups because I thought these people are all crazy. So I found a guy who had a UFO group. His name was Nick Curto. And I said, gee, I'd like to tell you what just happened to me. I had this big UFO sighting on the Thruway. And eventually, Nick and I did a book together. I started channeling dead people. And then I said, this is really boring. I'd like to channel some aliens. And then it happened. I'm just going to show you the cover of the book. Hold on. Okay. So this was the interdimensional contact sessions. And aliens had some very fascinating things to say. One of them was named Marcus from the Pleiades, and he said, your most violent animals don't kill because of hate. And then a being from Neptune said, I have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a neck, and a torso. I suppose you could say aliens are human too. Doesn't that make me human? And that alien was the Wanderer from Neptune.
Our Neptune?
Yep. And one of them said, to change dimensions requires an enormous amount of concentration and an enormous curiosity. This is the fear humans have. They don't want to be left, and they don't want to leave. And that was a being from the white planet. His name was Black Mortimer. And Sean Stone was present for that one. Oliver Stone's son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's very interested in that kind of thing. So I never did anything like this before, and this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that one sighting on the Thruway.
What, the airplane that vanished as it was moving towards you?
Mm-hmm. It was amazing. I was coming out of Home Depot and heading back to New York City. And I see this plane looking like it's going to crash, and I'm thinking, is there an airport there? There wasn't. And then it turned left and headed towards me. And I found out eventually that these things can shapeshift. They can change shape very easily. And they can flicker right back into another dimension.
It's fascinating you say that, because in the news this week, there's a video of a woman who's kind of storming off an airplane, accusing her co-passenger of not being a real person.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's some other video where someone might be like a shapeshifter. There's other video where people are just saying it wasn't a big deal. She flipped out for no reason, but she seemed very convincing in her video.
Wow.
So, what are your thoughts on what the UFO or the aliens are wanting you particularly, but also from humanity in general?
Well, that's interesting because I started working with someone named Kevin Christopherson, who he was a movie producer for Legacy Pictures. I met him at Nick Curto's group when they asked me to do a lecture there. And me and Kevin, we had something in common. And me and him ended up getting together to see if we could do a project. Now, we did that on a Sunday. While we were talking, suddenly the room started to fill with love. It was the strangest thing. And then I saw a man standing at the front door, and he had very beautiful blonde hair, and he wasn't wearing any clothes. He didn't have sex organs. I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Michael." And I thought he was an alien from Venus or something. So we started recording all of those conversations. And the third time he came, Kevin had just had a fight with his girlfriend, and he was very upset. And Michael starts walking towards his chair, and feathers start coming out of his arms.
So he's like an angel.
That's when I realized he was an angel. And when he put his wings around Kevin, I started crying like crazy. I saw this incredible gold, silvery light, and I just couldn't stop crying. And for months after that, when I would go out on the street, I would ask people if they would like a hug. And you know what they said? Most people said yes. I felt so much love for people after Michael had been to my house. Most people would not believe that an angel could appear in New York City in 2017. That nobody would believe that. I'm pretty sure. But I learned a lot. If you ask somebody if they want love, they'll always say yes.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah. I believe that our bodies are churches, and that the Lord and Jesus is inside of us, not outside of us.
That's a beautiful message.
When I was 18, I heard a voice. I was up at White Plains doing my homework, and I said, "Who's this?" And he said, "Jesus." I said, "How do I know it's you?" He said, "Ask me anything." And I did. I asked him the hardest things I could think of, and he answered all of them perfectly, and then I believed it was him. And that was the end of that communication. I said, "If you're still here, why don't you come down and show yourself?" And he said, "What do you think they would do to me if I said I was Jesus Christ?" And I said, "They'd lock you up in a mental hospital."
Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of examples of people who have said that they are Jesus Christ, and they've been basically murdered.
Oh my God. Well, I even have a song about him. But I mean, at the time, yeah, it's called Sacrifice. He came here to be sacrificed. I think most of my music is fifth dimensional music too. I think that's why I never had a hit single.
Yeah, maybe our brains weren't really equipped to wrap our heads around the fifth dimension.
That's right. And, you know, when I was hanging out with Kevin Christopherson, Kevin said, "Listen, there's a guy on 34th Street, his name is Jed Turnbull, and he hypnotizes people who have been abducted. And he helps them go back and remember whatever it is they can't remember. Why don't you go see them? So I did. I wanted to find out why I got those implants. I wanted to find out why I had all those UFO sightings and the visitation. So I went there and he hypnotized me. And I met, under hypnosis, I saw a little girl in a field and there was a big UFO across the field. And somehow she gets inside the UFO and there's a man there with long white hair, robes, and he says he's her father from the Pleiades. And I started crying. And we taped the whole thing. And because I lost my father when I was very young. And this being said he was my father. So that was interesting. And then I went back another time and he put me under hypnosis. And I said to him, "Can you make things up when you're under hypnosis?" And he said, "No, you can't." And I said, "Can you lie under hypnosis?" And he said, "No, you can't." Because I wasn't sure if I was making this all up. So then I meet the man again, and then he looks like an alien, this father figure. And he said, "I didn't want to scare you the first time. But now I'm showing you my real body." And some of the research I've done on the Pleiades, I do everything that Pleiadians do.
What does that mean?
Well, they teach. They like to help people. They're healers. So I'm pretty convinced I'm a starseed.
Explain that term to me. What's a starseed?
I think it's somebody who's extremely aware of their alien origins, because that would make sense of my whole life, because I've had so many experiences.
So you're saying that you are related to aliens in some way?
Well, I do think I have an alien father who introduced himself when I was under hypnotherapy. And Jed Turnbull said a lot of times when he's hypnotizing people, he has to work hard to get them to go into a deeper place. But I was there already, like immediately went under hypnosis. So I'm like not really fully in this dimension. I think I'm in this dimension when I drive. Thank God. And but I don't fully relate to this dimension like some people do.
The entity that came to you and said that he was your father under hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of feelings did you get from him? Kind of like did he share a story with you? Did he share experiences with you? Did he share advice with you?
Basically, he wanted me to know that he existed and to let me know who I am. And that's pretty interesting, because when I walked into Jed Turnbull's office, I heard a voice come out of me, and the voice said, "I want to find out who I am." And I also told him I was never abducted, but I really want to know who I am. And it didn't feel like normally Jane Allyson talking. It felt like it was my voice, but it was something else talking.
It's interesting to describe it that way. If you're hearing a voice coming out of you, but not necessarily being your voice.
Yeah, that's right. It was very strange. And right after this happened, the 3 implants that were here went over on the side. And he told me they put the implants in me so they could keep track of me. So that made sense. That then answered a question why that happened to me.
Why were they keeping track of you?
Well, that's a good question. You'd have to ask them. But it was then, right after that, that I started hearing this voice telling me to go to rooftops.
Was it easier to connect with you while you were on a rooftop?
Well, when I would go to a rooftop, that's when I would have a sighting. And but why would I even go up to a roof unless I heard a voice tell me to do it? You know, it's not something you normally think to do, you know.
Well, maybe not the first time.
Oh, and then there was Harry Levelson, who was the writer for Omni Magazine. He wrote the UFO update column. And honestly, I don't know how we met, but he asked me if I wanted to go up to Pine Bush with him because he gets contacted from people all over the country who are having UFO sightings.
What's Pine Bush?
Pine Bush, New York is a small town upstate, years ago, there were so many UFOs up there that retired firemen and police just used to sit out in the middle of a field with their cameras, and they would make scrapbooks of all their sightings. And I went up there with Harry, and we had some very unusual experiences. Very strange sightings. Well, one night I saw a triangle with a light in each corner flying over our heads, but it wasn't making a sound. There was no engine sound. And I went up there with somebody else once, and we were sitting across from a field, and it was midnight, and I heard a baby crying in the middle of the field. Now, normally, if you hear a baby crying, you think you should go in and rescue the baby, right?
Yes.
But I smelled something that smelled like sulfur, like rotten eggs, and I got a very bad feeling. And I just took off and went back to the city. And years later, I heard from people that if there's a Bigfoot somewhere, you might smell rotten eggs. And they might make a sound to try to lure you into a forest so that you could get abducted or something. But it didn't feel right. That was in Pine Bush.
So you're kind of tying together a lot of these different entities. You got spirits, aliens, you're bringing in Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all connected?
Well, I don't know about Bigfoot, because that just happened once. And I hope I never meet Bigfoot. When you're in and out of the fifth dimension, you have a lot of strange experiences. And that's what happens when you're a medium, I guess. Oh, when I was 15, I did a piece of sculpture, and I called it a Martian grandmother. I have
Was
it
that
right
big?
here. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
It's a sculpture of a Martian grandmother. Wait a minute.
Starting to feel very secret now, the teenage witch, you know.
Okay, this is her. Maybe I should just pick her up.
The video's a little bit behind the audio. Okay. So I'm seeing like an arm, some hair, some legs.
I mean, no face, just this. I mean, why was I doing that when I was 15? Martian grandmother.
That's pretty wild.
Strange. And the songs I wrote that had to do with a sexual encounter with a Martian. That one was called Martian Love. It's on YouTube.
Okay, well, look
I
it up.
have a music publisher, and they get my music everywhere. I'm on iTunes. The name of the project is Shanghai Lily Dublin.
Shanghai Lily Dublin.
Right.
Okay.
And Martian Love is, of course, about a sexual encounter with a Martian on a highway. I'm going to put Grandma back, okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
You know, it's interesting you talk about sexual encounters with a Martian. We did have a guest one time who his job was filming sexual encounters with people who had sexual encounters with ghosts.
Woo! Wow!
That was a while.
That was his job?
Yeah, self-employed.
I would imagine. But the one thing I know is I was never abducted. I think I would have remembered that.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like something that's hard to forget unless there's like an outside force that's trying to keep you from remembering it.
Yeah. So,
So what are your projects now? Like, where does your mediumship take you now?
well, right after I got COVID, and I almost died 3 times, my frequency changed quite a bit. And Kevin and I did another book called The Elemental Contact Sessions, where I started hearing elements talk.
What does that mean, elements?
Gases, liquids, certain animals. Let me just get the cover of that book and I'll show you.
Yeah.
So this is the book that me and Kevin did. The Elemental Contact Sessions. And I channeled okay, the first thing I channeled was a gas called argon. The second one was beryllium. The third one was candor. The fourth one was dark matter. Then there was energy, pharon, atom, universal consciousness, ocean consciousness. Yeah, the ocean has life. The ocean has consciousness. Mercury, Venus, silver, fear, gold, and a turtle, and a white shark, and a dolphin. And the last one Kevin did. He did the last channeling. Oh, you're going to think this is crazy.
Well, before you move on, what is candor?
Candor?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get the page. Candor, page 45. Candor is unreserved, honest, and is a sincere expression and freedom from prejudice or malice, brightness and brilliance. Candor is unstained purity, refreshing, blunt, direct, frank, and open, to shine or glow. Can means white. Door can mean interpreted as honest, sincere passion. And candor, this is written in like script form, where I'm talking, then candor speaks, then I ask. I said, you're not an alien, you're not a spirit, you're not a ghost. What are you? And candor says, I am the truth coming through you, both of you. Both of you are sectors of a divine geometric pattern.
Okay, so candor is like the
It's an energy.
openness, honesty.
Right.
You know, and lawyers have the duty of candor with the court.
Mm-hmm. And I channeled an atom.
An atom?
Yeah. The smallest particle of an element that can either exist alone or in combination with other atoms. Vast potential constructive or destructive energy. All matter is made up of atoms. And so I said, so Adam showed me himself this morning. He's bouncing around like a tiny little ball. He never stops moving. And my dog was agitated all morning. And now he's in the crate for the first time. The atom said, they call it evolution. I said, I can feel you exploding constantly. What are you doing? Reproducing? You're always advancing, developing? And the atom said, they call it evolution. Evolution. I only speak when I have something to say because I'm constantly moving. And I said, so please, Adam, why are you here? And Adam said, to show you something even deeper than energy. So he said, I said, you're not used to talking to people, are you? And he said, not directly with your language, but you can feel me as urges, emotion, and objects that make you feel a certain way. And he said, ever see an object that made you sad? Ever see an object that made you happy? And he said, that was me coming through to your atoms because you are atoms. So my atoms speak to your atoms. So you call yourself a human, I know, but try this. You are not human. You are atoms. So we are the same. I believe it. We're atoms also.
That's pretty deep stuff.
Yeah, I think it's deep.
So do people have a way to contact you to, I mean, do you do healings or sessions or therapy or, you know, what's your interaction with people? How does your mediumship
Well,
work
I'm a
for others?
licensed therapist. I mean, I had a healing group since 1980. I was doing a lot more type of healing work that Jesus did back in the 80s. I used to lecture at hospitals. I was part of Dr. Oz's complementary medicine program at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. In those days, there was lots of experimentation going on with, you know, holistic healers and things like that. And so doctors were kind of interested in stuff like that.
So you are still doing healing, hosting healing groups, therapy groups.
Well, after COVID, I stopped the healing group for a while, and I restarted it recently, but then I stopped it again because things are different now. Life is much busier. But I do feel the urge to put my hands on certain people who are very, very sick. It's something that you just feel like doing when you're around somebody who's ill. Two Easters ago, I was at my brother's house, and there was a girl there with a brain tumor. And I asked her if she would like a healing. And she was kind of skeptical, but we went into a room together and shut the door. And I worked with her. She was getting migraines every single day. So she was constantly having to take pain medicine. And we did a healing, and her headaches went away. And 2 days after that, like the next day, I was praying to God all day long, please let me do this kind of work again, because that's what I can do. And the next day, I went to turn the radio on, and I heard a voice. And the voice said, don't do that. You'll lower your frequency, and you won't hear my voice. Well, I got rid of the radio. And that was Jesus again. And he came every day for quite a while. And I transcribed everything he said. And I turned that into a book too. It's called Conversations with Jesus. And nobody's going to believe that happened either.
Why won't they believe it?
Who's going to believe that? I asked a minister. My boyfriend asked me to take Bible studies so I could be buried in a Catholic cemetery.
Okay.
So I went to this minister. He was a Christian minister, and I said, is Jesus still alive? And he said, no, Jesus is dead. No, he's not.
I don't think he was actually a Christian minister.
Hold on, I'll show you the cover of the other book.
I mean, if he's a real Christian minister, you would have to see the Jesus.
Yes, right. I was amazed. So this is the book, Conversations with Jesus. And, I mean, now, every morning, I say hello to Michael, I say hello to Jesus, and I tell God, whatever you want me to do today, God, I will do it. And I meet such nice people everywhere I go. Everywhere. And I just feel so much more love for people, because I used to be a very angry kid. You know, I had a rough life. And I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. But I think I transformed a lot of my angry energy into love.
And now you're helping people.
I can't think of any other reason to be alive.
That is an excellent point. And I would say that for all our listeners, how can they find your books? How can they find you? Where can they reach out, contact you, follow your projects, follow you on social media?
Well, I'm a licensed social worker at this point, and they can look me up on the internet. And I have a publishing company called Sagittarius Publishing, and I give my books away.
Well, that's really nice. Let's see if we
I
can
don't
find
sell
one.
them. And Jesus said during this book, he said, don't sell this book. He said, he doesn't need the money, and neither do I. I said, okay. So I printed a bunch of books and gave them away.
Do you still have Sagittarius Publishing?
Yep. Yep. I write a lot of stuff about animals too. Oh, I also have a book about spiritual healing. Years ago, I wrote a book called Spiritual Healing for Dummies. And then I changed it. Hold on.
The Idiot's Guide.
Where is that book?
Complete Idiot's Guide to Spiritual Healing.
Yeah. Okay. So it turned into this, Spiritual Healing. That's that book right there, by the Phoenix Healing Center. Because it talks about laying on of the hands. It talks about working with energy, working with your soul, the frequency of love, the frequencies of energy. I use the Christ energy, and another word for that is God's love.
Yeah.
And I wrote a book called Gay Shmay about the very first gay man and the very first gay woman in prehistoric times. It's called Love is Love is Love.
Gay Shmay.
And I guess a lot of my books are very, very funny because I'm a frustrated stand-up comedian. I tried it once. Somebody threw a spitball at me and I gave it up.
That's a lot of frustration.
But I still love to make people laugh.
That's great. So you've got the dinosaurs running around chasing after the first gays.
This is a very funny book. And it also shows you that love is love.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
My books are called Children's Stories for Adults and a few kids. Enlightenment through Entertainment. I don't see any reason to write a book unless you can help somebody with something that you've learned.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Oh, I have a book about school bullying too.
How to be the best bully you can be.
Yeah. Huh? What?
No, the opposite. How to stop being a bully.
It's the story of my life. It's the story of my life getting bullied since first grade.
You've been bullied since first grade?
I was. Oh, wait. I'll show you that book, too.
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay. This book is called Edelnose, the girl who got bullied in school. The day before I started school, my next door neighbor Bobby was running down the street and he ran into my face. And he broke my nose. And I had curly hair and all the other kids had straight hair. So I got bullied for that. What are the two book titles she held up? Oh, Edelnose, the girl who got bullied in school. Gay Shmay. Am I supposed to type that?
No, you don't have to type it. They just want you to hold up the book.
Oh.
Edelnose, Gay Shmay, there was Elemental Sessions.
Gay Shmay, Spiritual Healing. Conversations with Jesus, the interdimensional contact sessions with the aliens, and the elemental contact sessions with elements. Because apparently everything is alive. I once heard a tree talk to me.
What did it say?
What it said, the first time it spoke, it said, I need a bigger pot. My roots hurt. I need a bigger pot. And I couldn't believe it. That was the first time that ever happened. And then one day I said to the owner of the bush, I said, your tree spoke to me. She said, really? What did it say? And I said, it said, I need a bigger pot. My roots are getting crushed. And she said, oh, I've been meaning to do that all winter and I forgot. That's what she said.
Well, I'm glad I'm sure the trees were glad that you were there to listen and convey that message.
So she did get a bigger pot when I told her that the tree asked for it. Yeah, she did. That was the first time that ever happened. But Stevie Wonder did an album called The Secret Life of Plants.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think they've done scientific experiments to see plants' reactions to different types of music. So everything's alive.
Do plants love or hate jazz? And would that affect your impression of plants?
Can you say that again? I missed the first part.
How do plants feel about jazz?
Jazz. Oh, I guess they like it. I don't think they like hard rock or punk rock.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I love punk rock.
And I was doing a session one night, and I had a plant sitting near the person I was working with. And the plant said, I'm thirsty. So I went and got some water and went back, and then I looked to see if it was dry, and it wasn't. It didn't need water. And right in front of my client, I said, you don't need water. What'd you ask me for water for? So that's what happened there. Their therapist was talking to a plant. When people come in and tell me they heard voices, I say, oh, I've heard voices too.
Yeah, join the club.
Join the club.
Well, you're the only one? We all have voices.
That's right. Oh, and another time, you want to hear another thing?
Yeah. We got time.
There were dinosaurs in my apartment.
Dinosaurs in your apartment?
I was laying on the floor. This is around the time I was becoming a medium. I was laying on the floor listening to music. All of a sudden, I see dinosaurs fighting each other right over my head. They're in my apartment. And it was as real as seeing you. And then they disappeared. And I think I slipped into another time zone or another dimension, time, space. I didn't know what that was.
Jurassic times.
Well, there may have been a time in history that there were dinosaurs here in New York before it was New York.
I'm sure that is.
And I think I just, without knowing it, slipped into another time.
Endlessly fascinating. You have tons of stories, tons of really great experiences that you can share.
It's been exciting.
Well, Jane, we appreciate you coming in and sharing your experiences with us. Apologize for the audio issues. That's 100% on my end, as it turned out.
Oh, thank God. Thank God it wasn't me.
But to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. We will have another interview tomorrow. Make sure that you like, comment, and follow so you get more of these edge of reality content. And until next time, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.